On this episode of Supercars Talk, I look at why we should only have race winners and not go back to having round winners. I'm not sure if this is coming out on the film, but it is so cold out here in the shed. I'm actually blowing a bit of, I'm trying to think what it's called. Looks like I'm smoking. So we'll see if that came out of film. Anyway, over the weekend, because we had, some guys making a bit of a sacrifice in different races with their tyres and things like that, and Percat shouldn't have won because he was the only one running around on good tyres in the second race. Well, as I said, everyone had the same opportunity. They made a choice that they were going to sacrifice race 2 for race 1 and 3, and the Brad Jones boys, and the Brad Jones boys actually did pretty good in all the other races, so they probably weren't sacrificing too much in the other races. And anyway, we could go on and on about, keyboard warriors knowing the best, they know everything. A bit like me, I know everything, I'm going to tell you my opinion. So anyway, there's people saying, we should go back, we used to have round winners, so then the guy who does the best over the weekend and things like that. So anyway, back in the olden days, for those people not, quite as old as me, what we used to have, and kind of, this was during the 90s and that, you'd have multiple races over the weekend, or actually there were multiple races over the Sunday. You'd have like 3 20-minute races, and then what would happen, you'd have one qualifying session that would set the grid for the first race. The second race would be set off the finishing order from the first race, etc., etc. So, and then some guy might win race 1 and 2 and then do crap in race 3, and then some guy who's come like third in each of the races, he wins the round overall because he had the most accumulated points over the 3 races, and he becomes the winner on the Sunday night. And then we were doing the stuff with like racing on Saturday and things like that, and they essentially what they wanted to do was to be able to put a winner at the end of the day on Saturday. We had a winner kind of thing, so they changed it so each of the races becomes an individual round, or individual races kind of. So over the weekend you might have 2 or 3 races, you have a qualifying session for each and whatever. So what they're saying over the weekend, because of we had the short sharp kind of racing again, people want to see this round winner again rather than someone going out and winning for a 30-lap race kind of thing. Well, I thought it was good that we got to see Percat, get a trophy for taking on they took the chance. They got the spoils in the second race over the weekend. Does make it a bit simpler for counting, because by the end of the year we get to about race 765, and you're like, how did that happen with so many races during the year? Especially when you have no races at the Grand Prix, but somehow we had 4 apparently. I wonder what happens in the history books with that, because the Downers races, but no one actually started, so no one finished and no one won. How does that affect? Technically, did Whincup start his 500th race at the Grand Prix, because there was races down on. Anyway, we could really go down a rabbit hole there and get totally lost on that track. So anyway, after that little diversion down the wrong track, I don't think we should have. I'm very happy having 3 race winners over the weekend. They're saying, it would reward someone who came 4th in each of the race potentially, because, they could win the overall round for their consistency. Well, we had we changed the point score because Scaife was winning, every race, and we went back to a more, consistency kind of thing, so that Scaife couldn't win the championship 3 months before the end of the year, and then Jamie Whincup went and did that anyway a couple of times. But then there were everyone complaining then, because someone, Russell Ingall and then Rick Kelly, both sat down and kind of went, hey, if we finished fifth in every race, we could win this championship. So they went out 2 years in a row, and that was their aim. They weren't out to win, and I think both of them only won one race all year and won the championship just through pure consistency, and everyone didn't like that. So, we go back to a system that kind of rewards winning and things like that. Let's reward the winners, the guys like Percat who risk sacrificing other races. If we're in this situation with tyres degrading, limited amount of tyres, which is thumbs up, awesome idea. We've been banging on for quite a while. While we're at it, let's take a heap of downforce off the cars, and that might fix a bit of the problems. Let's see some different winners. So anyway, we should be rewarding the winner. We don't want to really reward someone who, comes fourth each day. We want to see the guy who's first across the line, get a trophy at the end of it, maybe hooks and burnouts and things like that. The COVID kind of thing, we didn't get to see any burnouts, and probably because of the tyre situation. It's probably like, let's not damage any of these tyres just in case. And maybe there's no burnouts because there's no crowds. But to me, that's what we want to see, especially when you have the racing over different days. Then on Saturday, who won? It was Scott McLaughlin, and it's probably going to be Scott McLaughlin for most of the year and next year until he goes off to IndyCar, because he's the best driver in the best team. So it's pretty simple to come to the conclusion Scott McLaughlin is going to win everything until he leaves. Anyway, it's funny over the weekend, that bloke in the other Penske car didn't really do much, did he? Anyway, I'm not going to get into a discussion about how Nick Percat should replace Fabian Coulthard today. Just keep that one under your hat, because I don't think I've mentioned that before in any of these videos. Anyway, let's change things like let's have degrading tyres. I quite liked the shorter, sharper races. I liked two rattle guns in the pit stops, things like that. They were thumbs up supercars. They were great changes over the weekend. Anybody who's saying let's have like this round winner, one winner for the weekend, shut them up. Like, that's, then let's rewrite all of the record books again, because it's stupid that WinCup's got 156,000 wins or whatever, and Peter Brock only had 40 because they only had one race win over the weekend. Like, how you can't compare them or whatever. Let's just leave it at the 50 whatever races we end up having each year, because that's what we do now. And I think it works. You get you win a race, you get a trophy. Everyone complained when they did those 60-60 ones or whatever they were called, that were split in two or whatever, that the guy who won the first one didn't get registered as a win, or the guys who win that qualifying race at Sandown don't get registered as a win. So this would just make it even worse if the guy who wins like the first. It would mean that Nick Percat wouldn't have had a win on the weekend, which Nick Percat deserves to have a win because Nick Percat is very good. Anyway, let me know what you think. Do you agree with my ramblings? Or do you want to see one round winner over the weekend? So, you go to work on a Monday and someone goes, hey, who won the V8s on the weekend? And you go, Scott McLaughlin won, because Scott McLaughlin wins everything. Or do you go, Scott McLaughlin won a couple of races and Nick Percat won one of them? It's a bit like who won the footy. Well, it's not one team that wins the footy all weekend. Let's not get into that. It is cold out here. I'm going to leave it at that. Let me know what you think, and I'll catch you later.